More than 24 million people in 11 states are under flood threat this morning as dangerous storms move up the East Coast. Flash flood watches and warnings stretch from Georgia to Vermont. Tornadoes were spotted from Virginia all the way to New York State yesterday.
Evacuations are underway for some of Lynchburg, Virginia's 80,000 residents over fears a dam could breach. The area received 6 inches of rain in just a few hours. Chip Reed is in Lynchburg with the dramatic flood threat. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning. Take a look behind me. You see that police car and a hill behind it. About 200 yards down that hill is a dam. Behind that dam is a reservoir, College Lake. It has about 225 million gallons of water behind it. The worst case scenario, if that dam does breach, as officials are worried it might, is that that water would go surging downhill into Lynchburg, and it could drown that city, at least parts of it, in 17 feet of water in about 7 minutes. A roaring torrent of water gushed out of the College Lake Dam Thursday, flooding nearby Blackwater Creek and forcing the evacuation of more than 120 homes.
That's about as high as I've ever seen it.
Floodwaters spilled into nearby neighborhoods, turning parks into ponds and chewing up roads. Drivers were stranded in standing water, and rescue boats went door to door, evacuating families late into the night.
My latest count, they've gotten about 10 people out, and they're still getting some more folks out.
About 55 miles north in Charlottesville, a tornado with wind speeds reaching 70 miles an hour ripped up trees and damaged a high school. And in North Carolina, heavy rain flooded streets in Charlotte and caused this sinkhole to appear near Greensboro, where saturated soil toppled trees onto power lines.
My whole backyard, everything was like a lake. It was flooded so bad to the point where when the water did calm down, I found a fish in my driveway.
And more bad news. There is more rain in the forecast here, which means those poor people down in Lynchburg who have already been evacuated might have to wait at least 24 hours to get back into their homes, and that assumes that the dam doesn't breach.
What I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilized it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base with Senator Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn to
questions. So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying...
October 1966. The Vietnam War is in full swing. U.S. military scientists are devising a way to slow down enemy forces using the weather. The Air Force employed a groundbreaking military directive called Project Popeye.
Project Popeye was a weather modification program that involved cloud seeding, and the idea was to produce or exaggerate the monsoon rains that are traditional in that region.
Experiments are carried out beforehand with the military aircraft dropping silver iodide crystals in clouds over a strip of the Laos Panhandle, east of the Belovens Plateau in the Sekong River Valley. 50 cloud seeding runs are conducted. 82% of the clouds seeded produce rain within a brief period.
So Project Popeye then became Operation Popeye. It became a proper military program during the Vietnam War.
The goal of Operation Popeye was to extend the monsoon season and create an inordinate amount of rainfall by seeding clouds over the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
They flew over 2,600 missions from a period of 1966 to 1972, and it's believed that it did exacerbate the amount of rainfall and probably extended the monsoon season by 30 to 45 days.
My name is Ben Livingston. I'm the first person to ever seed a cloud with the intention to cause it to do military damage. I know I can say that, and I did it several times before the next person did it.
Tell me what these clouds are we're looking at.
Well, these clouds were located up in the southern part of North Vietnam, and we needed to make rain down on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, Highway 1. But there weren't any real clouds around. There were a number, this was the end of the monsoon season, but there were a number of these small clouds that barely reached the freezing level, and by putting a small amount of silver iodide in there, we got them to collect and start to build. And as they built, we just worked on the largest tower in the group until in just a very short time we had clouds that were...
You told me this cloud got 14 inches of...
Well, this cloud, of course, this is all the same cloud.
We were doing quite a lot of testing work out over the test range at China Lake, California, where we dropped cloud seeding flares or silver iodide generators into clouds, or just where we wanted to see what the reaction was. And it was there when I learned for sure that you could really change a cloud by the amount of silver iodide you put in and where you put it.
This cloud here, from the time it started raining till it quit, it put out a little over 14 inches of precipitation.
What did that do to the North Vietnamese?
Well, it just washed all the roads out, and there was a bridge attached to a mountain that bombed and could not get rid of it. This heavy rain washing out down that river took that bridge out.
Of approximately 150 folks from this community. The majority of those folks went to shelters. We then transitioned almost immediately from the evacuation mode to the security mode, making sure that those areas that have been evacuation are secured. In addition to that, I would just add that while things are progressing positively and we are keeping, obviously positive thoughts in mind, it's very important to note that the all clear has not been given yet. So we ask that folks not return to those areas that have been evacuated until our engineering folks tell us that it's okay to return. So I would ask that you be a little bit patient, but make sure we're not coming back right now because it's not time.
Well, the monsoon also prompting some evacuations in Mayer this evening. People in those low-lying areas near Big Bug Creek, they were forced out of their homes. And take a look at this video showing that car washed away by that fast-moving water. We're told, fortunately, nobody was inside this car at the time. Also, we want to show you some video from Logan Robers showing a flooded wash here in that area. For now, crews have set up a shelter. It is over at Mayer High School.
Yeah, this York neighborhood is one of the areas where mosquito traps have been set up. As of 2 o'clock this afternoon, York County is leading the state in the number of mosquitoes testing positive for the West Nile virus.
On York's northwest side, Tom Smith is setting a mosquito trap in the city's Fireside neighborhood. He is worried the West Nile threat may get worse in the weeks ahead.
Unfortunately, it's only a matter of time before we start seeing probable human cases.
Smith says the recent flooding has left a lot of standing water around. And with the recent warm temperatures, he says the conditions are ideal for mosquitoes to breed and West Nile virus to spread. He says it is critical for homeowners and businesses to clean up areas where stagnant water collects.
All that stagnant water is going to be producing mosquitoes.
Now, the Pittsburgh area has just reported a human case of the West Nile virus. The last human case in York County was 2 years ago. No one has died from West Nile in York County since 2006.
Good afternoon, I'm Jack Kane.
And I'm Marilyn McCall. If you're watching 13 News at noon, and as Joe just said, we're dealing with flooding in parts of Cabell and Putnam counties. In fact, let's go straight to Haley Kosick, who's live in Culloden, West Virginia, where water rescues are already being called in. Haley, good afternoon. What can you tell us?
Good afternoon, guys. So Culloden can't catch a break, let alone Putnam County. Now, where I'm currently standing, the water would have easily been up to my knees. So the water is quickly receding, and we're here at Westwood Mobile Home. So as you can see, the water is really receding here, and it's all thanks to the Department of Highways, who cleaned out this culvert over here. The water is rushing on through and getting to where it needs to be. And like I said, when I got here, it was much worse, but emergency personnel has really teamed up to help these people. And the good news is nobody was hurt. And like I said, 13 News has been all over Putnam County, so we have some other video of areas that experienced flash flooding as well. So as you can see there, we've been we've been all over the place trying to get the most accurate coverage.
Boy,
Boy, and let this be a reminder, you never want to drive through flooded roadways. Turn around, don't drown. If you can't see the road, that means it could be washed out in front of you, could be very deep, and it only takes 6 inches of water to cause the vehicle to lose control. If it's moving fast enough, it'll lift it right up.
Well, Polk County seemed to have gotten the worst of it today. Look at these photos. They were sent in by viewers in Cedartown. Unfortunately, we can expect a lot more of the same for at least the next few days.
Antiques on the Square was not riverfront property, the owner says, until this afternoon. 4 to 6 inches of water, pump working hard, but Cedar Creek continues rising. The Cave Spring Town Square, as seen from Skyfox drone, is a big brown lagoon that is threatening even more stores and homes near them.
We had over right at 9.5 inches of rain last night, and we thought we had it beat.
Yes, sir. We got about 5 more and it'll be it. It was do what you could for whoever you could. Beth Angel waded waist-high water to get her dog Loki.
I live on Park Street, so which the water is about up to our doorstep, so he's in a kennel down on the first floor, so out here there's more rain coming in, so.
Just off the town square, county inmates filled sandbags. Volunteers hefted them and placed them to keep the water from other downtown Cave Spring stores.
Just trying to keep the sandbags going.
A sinkhole opens in Clayton County overnight, leaving neighbors trapped inside their homes.
Good Day's Mark Togner is live on Windsor Drive near Old Dixie Highway. Mark, good morning to you. We're hearing that parts of that road have been reopened.
Yeah, they've managed to patch the road, giving these folks access, but take a look at the sinkhole. We are on, as we mentioned, Windsor Drive, right near Old Dixie Road, and what you're looking at is the bridge that came over a small creek. Jester Creek is the name of the creek, and it obviously swelled up because of all of this rain that we've been having and ended up forcing this road to give way. Now, when it did, it trapped a number of people inside their homes. This is the only way in and out for a couple of blocks. Really, this is a side street, to be honest with you. But the crews have managed to come over, and you can see they put a patch down here, and that allows folks to get in and out of their homes. We can also point out that pipe there, that's the water pipe. They've already worked on that, so the people have gotten their water service restored.
The water's going up to that guy's tires. This is insane. This whole street is flooded. This is nuts. I've never seen a rain this The whole time I've been in Staten Island, it's never been. This looks like the ocean. Look at this. This is insane.
Oh my God, what an idiot.
For you here. Seems like everybody these days has home surveillance systems, right? Imagine pulling out of your driveway yesterday near 115th Avenue in Missouri when a huge tree comes crashing down right where you were parked just moments before. Palm tree just snapping right off there. I wish we could hear that audio. We have it in slow-mo too. There you go. Look at that. Pretty incredible, right?
Well, at least the street lights came on now. We can see. Steady. Almost. 2 more steps.
Today we've seen trailers moved miles down the arroyo. Some people still looking for items they've lost. And worst of all, some people we talked to, they lost pets and livestock.
You could hear all of the animals crying.
Andrea Caldera says she wanted to go save her animals, but it was too dangerous.
To think that just this turbulent water could come and just take them and drown them. And you're just standing there helpless.
Caldera says her horses and goats, even her pot-bellied pigs survived, but she lost close to 30 chickens.
It was terrible. My daughters were crying. I was nearly in tears.
Still, Caldera says it could have been much worse, considering what happened to the massive wall that spans her property. This wall used to stretch 100 yards, but now only bits and pieces remain after those raging waters tore it down last night. And with more rain in the forecast, emergency crews in Santa Fe are warning people to never try and drive across moving water.
Let's get a place where we can at least put her right away. That's fine. Here. Perfect. And let's get a quick assessment done, make sure we're okay. Tom, when we get her out, let's do a quick assessment, make sure she's okay.
All of this rain causing havoc for many in our viewing area, including the Novant Health Rowan Medical Center in Salisbury. Overnight, the hospital's operating rooms were flooded out, forcing the hospital to halt all surgeries. NBC Charlotte's Ashley Daly has been at the hospital all day. And Ashley, just how much water are we talking here?
Well, we're talking several inches. In fact, to show you, this is the door that leads to the operating rooms. You can see this line right here shows how high the water came, and officials say it was all gushing inside.
Late Wednesday night, it wasn't patients pouring into this hospital, it was water.
There was probably 2 to 3 inches of water covering a large, like 30% of the first floor of the hospital.
Here tells me that they are sick and tired of this being the result of storms here in the Low Country.
The 1,000-year flood caused homes along the California branch and Monk's Corner to flood. And then
Matthew in 16, Irma in 17, and now just a summer storm is causing major flooding.
You can see how bad it looked this week around the creek, and the water line is clear along her property. Monk's Corner spent $8,000 on the study. The final copy of the study was released last month. Several problems were highlighted.
Some of the culverts crossing the roads, going underneath the roads, are too small, and there's a lot of watershed coming off the airport, more so than normal.
It looks at several options to fix the problem, from diverting upstream stormwater to improving existing culverts and bridges to even just buying homes that flood. Jolly's home is on a list of homes that would be bought out. The study does prioritize the options with the buyout as the top option because it's the cheapest. It would cost about $1.3 million. That's cheaper than any of the other options. Jolly tells me she's hoping that someone will do something to try and help fix some of the flooding issues they're seeing in this neighborhood.
FEMA just updated its flood maps, and this means changes for thousands of Pinellas County homeowners.
It could force some people to pay more for insurance, but it's not yet final. ABC Action News reporter Lauren Mazzella is live in St. Pete with how you can check to see if your neighborhood is affected. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, Dia and Jasmine. So almost all homes in Pinellas County have seen some kind of change, and I want to show you guys exactly how to check this. So first, it starts with going to this website that's on the Pinellas County website. You can see right here this interactive map. All of these red boxes indicate some sort of change. The yellow boxes mean no change. So what you're going to do is click on these individual boxes, and it will take you to a far more detailed look at your specific neighborhood. So as you scroll down, you will get a better assessment from FEMA of what your possible flood risk is and if there were any changes. Now, the most important thing to take from this is really that it could result in some possible changes to your flood insurance rate. So take a look at this survey. Now, if you disagree with what FEMA put out here, Pinellas County wants to hear from you. You can take this survey and to give your feedback.
Who could forget this video right here? Severe flash flooding near Flagstaff just earlier this month. Well, today, Governor Doug Ducey has declared a state of emergency in Coconino County. This directs $200,000 in emergency funds to the flooding recovery efforts. In a span of just 2 hours, more than 5 inches of rain fell in the Schultz area, leaving major damage to homes and roads. The Flagstaff area got hit hard, Iris. We're hoping for much drier weather this weekend.
Yeah, and
Iowa is waiting to hear if the flash flooding qualifies the state for a presidential disaster declaration. Governor Kim Reynolds has requested FEMA funding for 30 Iowa counties that were damaged by severe storms in June and July. The money would be used to rebuild structures that were damaged. And officials have estimated more than $16 million worth of damage that could be eligible under the program.
About 10 minutes ago, this was a street. Hey, Charity, go get my fishing pole. Oh, Lord. Take care. That's one security deposit they ain't gonna get back on that golf cart rental. Right? Oh, Lord. Yeah.
It would have been called a 1,000-year flood if the same destructive deluge hadn't crashed through Ellicott City, Maryland just 2 years before. Oh my God! The first time around in 2016, on the city's nearly 250-year-old Main Street, shop owners like Donna Sanger worked tirelessly to rebuild.
There was this enthusiasm, let's put on a show, let's bring the town back.
But this time,
this is more like a funeral.
Now they feel like these destructive floods are the new normal because this historic town, barely a blip on the map, is a blueprint for developing disaster, real estate development, in the face of increasingly wet weather. Joe Sexton is a scientist who uses satellite images to map changes in ecosystems.
You had 2 1,000-year floods within 2 years of each other. How did that happen?
The overwhelming factor was intense rainstorms. Climate change,
This summer?
This summer.
You've succeeded in increasing rainfall?
South of San Antonio, we had aircraft flying on a dozen days in the month of July, treating what we deemed to be seedable storms.
And what was the result of that?
The same result that we've seen since it started in 1997. Some clouds respond very well. Some clouds respond only to a limited degree. Maybe one or two instances when clouds didn't respond as we had hoped, probably because we got to them too late.
And when you say they responded very well, what does that mean?
It means that the storm lived longer and produced more rain over a larger area.
Look at this quote, okay? This is a stunner. Read this, sports fans. There's a whole area of climate so-called science that is really more like a cult. It's like Hare Krishna or something like that. They're glassy-eyed and they chant. It will potentially harm the image of all science. Wait for it. That is from Princeton, emeritus physics professor and former director of the Office of Science at the Department of Energy, William Happer, who joins us now. Professor, that's about as strongly worded statement as I've ever heard. Are you anti the climate science people?
Well, yes, but let me take this opportunity to apologize to the Hare Krishna people who have noble goals, and I really am sorry I used that simile. Well,
what exactly are you saying? Are you saying that climate scientists walk in lockstep and they're not allowed to break out of that? Is that it?
No, there are many very good climate scientists. I especially admire climate scientists who do measurements, you know, of temperatures from satellites, properties of the ocean from buoys, you know, concentrations of CO2. These are good scientists, and we should support them. I'm all for them. But there's a cult that's built up around them, you know, and anytime you confront them, instead of talking about the science, they talk about 97% agree with us, you know, we have to be right, you know, so that's what I meant by a cult.
Could anyone get a job in the climate science department of a major university if they're not gung-ho global warmers?
I don't think so, certainly not for the last few years, but I hope that will change because there's a lot of important climate science that ought to be done, and I hope it will be done.
You're not a skeptic, are you? You do believe that the climate is changing and it's human beings who are at least partly responsible. That, I think, is your position.
Yes, I think the human contribution, however, is very, very small. You know, I think most of the climate change we're seeing is natural. You know, climate has always changed. Who denies that climate changes? You know, you have to be completely blind to deny that.
Is the planet, can the planet be saved? Are we doomed? Because that's what we constantly hear. We've only got a few years left.
Well, no, I mean, of course not. It's a problem with science illiteracy. You know, most people don't realize that the normal CO2 levels have typically been measured in thousands of parts per million, not the puny 400 or so we have today. And the Earth thrives, so the idea that the Earth has never had high CO2 levels, it's completely false. Most of the time, it's never had such low levels as we have now.
So
why don't you learn some facts out there?
We never hear this. We just never, ever hear this.